Yeah, I was shy. Double line to the Apostle of GMS. This is I'm Nawa Allah coming at you in the video. In this video, I want to go into the tribes, the lost tribes, 10 tribes that came to the Western Hemisphere of the world. In other words, the house of Israel. But before I wanted to get into that, specifically, I was going to deal with Simeon and Levi. Before I get to that, I want to give a background on how the tribes got to this side of the world. So without further ado, let's get right to it. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. I'm going to go right down to the point, verse 40. It says, "Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land." Now first, let's get some history on that. This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17, verse 1. "In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. He did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, Yahweh Shemashah, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hosea became his servant and gave him presents." Now I want to stop right there. I want to go too deep into it because I mainly want to stick to the topic of the children of Israel coming to the side of the world. So I just briefly want to touch on that Hosea was a wicked king. So let's go on. Now we know that Hosea was the wicked king, as we just read, but Jeroboam, who was also a king over Israel, the house of Israel, he was also a wicked king as well. Now the point, because it said Hosea was a wicked king, but not like the king that was before him, which Jeroboam was the king that was before him. As a matter of fact, let me get a quick scripture. This is the book of 1 King, chapter 12, verse 25. This says, "Then Jeroboam built Shechem and Mount Ephraim, and dwelt therein, and went out from thence, and built Penuel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David." So we read the book of 2nd Ezra, 13th chapter. It speaks about Shalmaneser during the time of Hosea. We read that Hosea was a wicked king. But we read that Hosea was the king of Israel, meaning king over the house of Israel. He was wicked, but he did not as the wickedness of the kings that were before him, such as one is Jeroboam, a king that was before Hosea. He was the king of the house of Israel, and he had the wickedness as well. Right? It says, "Then Jeroboam built Shechem and Mount Ephraim, and dwelt therein, and went out from thence, and built Penuel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam king of Judah." So guess what? He felt that the children of Israel was to go up to Jerusalem to do sacrifices, then their hearts would turn back to one to be ruled over by Rehoboam, who was the king of Judah, the king of the house of Judah. He felt that if they went over to do sacrifice, they'll seek to be ruled over by him instead of be ruled over by Jeroboam. And he feared that. So it says, "Then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam king of Judah, and they shall kill me and go again to Rehoboam king of Judah." In other words, they're going to seek to be ruled over by Rehoboam, and then they're going to rise up against me and kill me, and then they're going to go back unto Judah. He didn't want that. He wanted to maintain that power. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, "It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt." So then what did he do? So then what he went and did was, he had built 2 golden calves. It's too much to go all the way. You don't got to go all the way to your land. You don't got to go all the way to Jerusalem to sacrifice. Here are your gods that delivered you out of Egypt. So he went and brought back them golden calves. Because remember, Israel built the golden calf when they had got delivered out of Egypt. And they had worshipped that golden calf as if that golden calf was that which had delivered them, until it was really the Most High. And he used Moses. Okay? And he said one in Bethel and the other put he in Dan. and this became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. And he made an house of high places, and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi. So these were some of the things. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah. And he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made, and he placed in Bethel the priests of the high places which he had made. So that's basically what it was that he had done. And it's many other things about it. He was offering into these so-called gods. So now you get the gist of it. Now you understand Shalmaneser, which Shalmaneser was during the time of Hosea, the king of Hosea, who was a wicked king. But the wicked king before him was Jeroboam. You read about Jeroboam's wickedness. But we still have to understand, why does it say these are the 10 tribes? Why didn't it mention all of the tribes? Simple, because there was a split between the house of Judah and the house of Israel. Let's get into that. Alright. So what we just read was the split. So that what it was that we just read in the 12th chapter was the split. But when I said now let's get into that, what I meant is now let's get into that, as in how Jeroboam took hold of those two of the how Jeroboam was the one that took rulership of the house of Israel. This is what I mean when I said let's get into that. I mean, let's get into how Jeroboam began to rule over the 10 tribes, because we had just read about the split. So there was a split that took place, and that's what was the cause of the split, because the children of Israel would not worship the Most High fully. But what we're getting into right now is an action that took place that prophesied that. So let's get into that. 1 Kings 11:28. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor, and Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And it came to pass at that time, when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces. So Ahijah took this garment and tore it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, the power of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and I will give 10 tribes to thee. Okay? So 10 of these tribes were given to Jeroboam, and the other tribes were given to Rehoboam. That's how when we read in the book of 1 Kings, the 12th chapter, it spoke about how if the children of Israel, Jeroboam said that the children of Israel went to Jerusalem to worship, what happened is their heart would turn to seeking to be ruled over by Rehoboam, and they would go and kill Jeroboam and go back to be ruled by Rehoboam. He feared that, which caused him to create those 2 golden calves for the children of Israel to worship, telling them that these were the gods that delivered them out of Egypt. So this action is what? A prophecy of what was going to come, of the split of the kingdom. So we already got into the split, but this is a prophecy of the split occurring before it actually went on to actually happen. Okay, so now we understand that. So now that we understand that, we can go back to the book of 2nd Esdras. So back in the 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter in the Apocrypha, the 40th verse, it says, those are the 10 tribes which are carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. So then it says, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive. Let's get into that now. And carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. Now that's good. Now going back into 2nd Esdras 17, so I had to kind of go backwards. I went backwards in accordance to how 2nd Esdras 13 was written. It mentioned Hosea, so I wanted to go into Hosea. Then it mentioned 10 tribes. It mentioned 10 tribes, so you had to go into how that was split. So now we're going into Shalmaneser, and this Shalmaneser is Shalmaneser the 5th. So let's read. It says 2nd Kings 17:6 and 6. In the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria, In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their power, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and feared of the gods, as we read earlier, and walked in the statutes in 2 Kings, the 17th chapter. In the 12th chapter. And walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel which they had made. So Israel was always going off throughout the years, even before Jeroboam. But that's who we primarily speaking on in this particular video. In Hosea. And the king of Hoshea and the king of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their power, and built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images in groves in every high hill and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. For they served idols whereof the Lord had said unto them, ye should not do this thing. Yet Yahweh Shah testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like the neck of their fathers. They did not believe in Yahweh Shah their power, and they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimony which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom Yahweh Shah had charged them that they should not do like them. Hopefully the video doesn't cut off. I'm just reading a few more verses. And they left all the commandments of Yahweh Shah their power, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshipped all the hosts of heaven, and served Baal. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, that's the worship of Molech, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of Yahweh Shah to provoke them to anger. Therefore Yahweh Shah was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. Also Judah kept not the commandments of Yahweh Shah their power, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of spoilers, until he had cast them out of his sight. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following Yahweh Shah, and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam which he did, they departed not from them, until Yahweh Shah removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants and the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cutha, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Seraphaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria, and said to the children of Israel, and they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. So we see right here in scripture says, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. Let's go back.